Abusiamfo Ghana man atushe my mama omunyina kwa waso nkoni ba RAZ MEDIA GH. So abusia ene DrBossman Asare Akoshia NDC journalist sabi mo amunyina munim se TV3 de wana wo ho a wo ye adwuma nyina wana wo ho a wo ye adwuma nyina omo NDC fo ena ya pake omo akogu so omo me den omo enko kasamfa man DC na me bo interview bi a kire wo no watie kwanya EC boss EC deputy boss chairman DrBossman Asare any NDC journalist omo crash here about this interview on TV3 yento aso ye ba ye besan yento aso na ye de DC ye ni nyina a kire yenkonko he video no mra kwanya EC boss ma TV3 journalist sabio ne ho e kire no ye ba ye beto aso makra.
First, your brief assessment of the recollation and redeclaration.
In terms of assessment, so far we had 12 outstanding. We've been able to do 10 of them. We did 3 earlier and we were able to do 7 over the weekend. So I think in terms of candidate assessment, I would say all the processes have gone on very well. We are still left with 2 to go. We are very hopeful that we'll get it done way before the swearing in Parliament.
Way before the swearing in Parliament. Doc, are you able to tell us which part of the CI 127, the constitutional instrument you used for this year's general election, it was the same you used in 2020?
The same in 2020.
Where in that CI that permits the Electoral Commission to recollate results and redeclare winners of parliamentary elections after they've already been declared in the constituencies?
Okay, thank you. This is a very, very good question. Number one, the Constitution, Article 45, says that of all the institutions in Ghana, it's only the Electoral Commission of Ghana which is mandated to conduct and supervise. And when you are supervising a process, if the process doesn't go well, you raise issues and you address the processes. Apart from that, we have CI 127. CI 127 Regulation 43. It provides that when you are doing collation, each candidate is supposed to have 2 agents at the collation center. So anytime there are encroachers at the collation center, it undermines what the law says. Apart from Regulation 43, Regulation 48 also talks about even when agents are not present, the collation can still take place. And the 43 I mentioned, it provides some steps to be followed when you are doing the collation. So once those steps are not followed, and you have an instance whereby somebody is compelled against his or her will or under duress to declare somebody a winner, that is not acceptable as far as the commission is concerned. So
that is the word of the Electoral Commission saying that your officers there were under duress?
No, it's not the word of the Electoral Commission. It's the word of our officers.
Okay, but
our officers for example, before you go, in Ablekumanov, we have 281 constituencies. And the direction we've given to our officers, you declare results with the 281 polling station results. 281 polling stations, including special voting at Ablekumanov. The first declaration was done with 219 polling stations.
We'll go into all of those details. You're saying that your officers, your officers claimed that they were under duress.
You said they claimed.
Yes,
that's what they said they were under duress.
So why didn't they go to court?
Why didn't they? No, they don't go to court. No, I think what some of you, the media, you are not understanding is this. The EC is mandated to conduct and supervise, to see to the conclusion of the process. So the EC must ensure that everything has been done properly. And when we are sure that everything has been done properly, if you are aggrieved, then you go to court.
Let's take it step by step, Doc. You still haven't answered the question of which part of the CI allows the Electoral Commission to recollate results of constituencies and to redeclare.
I think I mentioned, let me come back. I said CI 127 Regulation 43. It provides the framework for collation.
And I will read that to you.
Collation that does not follow that process is unacceptable.
I'll read that to you. and I will read that very briefly. It says that after votes are cast and counted at the polling stations, the presiding officer submits the pink sheet, statement of poll and declaration of result form to Constituency Collation Center. At the collation center, returning officer, i.e. the man who declared who becomes the winner, aggregate all polling station results from constituency verification result. The returning officer ensures figures from polling stations are corrected and tallied. But then it goes on to say...
The returning officer ensures what?
The returning officer ensures the figures from all polling stations are correctly tallied. Once verified and accepted, returning officer completes the constituency collation form and declares result. Now you declare the total number, valid, rejected, and all of that, after which, and there's a part of it where it says that when there is a problem or there's a contestation, the EC may recount at that instant. But it didn't say that after there has been, for instance, after you've passed that stage and you have declared the winner.
What you just read, you said the returning officer must put together all the polling station
but
results.
I'm arriving at a result. I'm just saying that after you have declared the winner, I didn't see anything in the CI that said that after declaration is done, you go back and say that because there were these previous challenges, we are going to redeclare winner.
Now, let me say this. We have officers, returning officers for each constituency. The same people who declared the results you are claiming they declared said no, that's not what transpired. And that at a gunpoint, at a knife point, I was compelled to declare a winner who didn't win.
Our cameras were there. I don't remember we reported that they put knives and guns on the head.
Did you watch the declaration of Okankwe Central? Have you seen the footage?
I did.
Did you hear the officer saying I declared with 78%?
No, but
did you hear that?
I'm asking you a question specific to what you just said, which is the guns and the knives, and I'm saying that I don't recall our cameras recording that.
But usually in those
because that's what you're using to say under duress.
No, the point is under duress. Apart from that, but did you see the footage of Okankwe Central being declared?
Yes.
Did you hear the person saying I'm declaring with 78% of the polling station?
Yes, we know that in some constituencies they declare.
And we are saying all those are unlawful.
Okay, but what happened in Damango where one person died and where the current lands minister Abu Jinapo, they declared without all the results?
Are you sure?
Yes.
In Damango they declared with all the results.
Not with all the polling stations.
Let me put things in perspective. In 2004, there was a similar incident in the Peru constituency. The then chairman of the Electoral Commission, the MPP candidate for Peru constituency was declared the winner. The information got to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Afarijan, that the right person was not declared. The commission went to Sunyani, did a new collation, and the NDC candidate was declared the winner. In 2004, the same thing happened in Yapeku Sogo. Another thing happened at that time, Zabzugu and Tatale were one constituency. It happened over there. The NDC candidates were affected. It came to the attention of Dr. Afarijan. There was no declaration, but the wrongs were corrected. What the commission is saying clearly is that this CI 127, it provides a framework. If you don't follow that, it's unlawful. So anyone who is aggrieved, the commission will do the right thing. Once we do the right thing and you are unhappy with the right thing, you take legal action.
But the grievance you're talking about is what I just read, which is part of the 43 of this CI 127, where it says that when there's a contestation, at the time you're counting, putting it together, collating, and before you even announce, you, because of that contestation, you recount. But I did not see anywhere, and I'm just repeating that question, where it said that after you declared, and I just gave you the example. You're citing the example of constituencies which didn't have all the polling station results. And indeed, after the courts asked the Electoral Commission to go ahead, you had a press conference where Madame Jean Mensah herself said that the EC would not accept results where in areas where they even had 200 plus, they had just a little over 100, and yet they went ahead to declare. And I'm saying that in Abu Jinapo's constituency, Damongo, we had that happen. Also, in the issue of Techiman South, in 2020, during the parliamentary election, when the people had issues, NDC had issues with the result, you told them to go to court. So people are feeling that there's a double standard being played here by the Electoral Commission in this year's general election.
Let me put things in the right context. Techiman South in 2020, the report from our district officer, as well as the returning officers, was they had gone through the entire process required by CI 127. They went through the entire process. So when that report came to us, we said once you've gone through the entire processes, anyone who has an issue with it must use the legal system, because the entire processes they've gone through without any problem. In 2024, they didn't go through the entire process. The same people who did the exercise, those alleged declarations, the same people who did it, those same people came to the commission and said, no, that's not what transpired.
So you don't see what happened in Techiman South and what is happening now as a double standard?
No, it's not anyone who claims what happened in 2020 in Techiman South, what happened in 2024 in Techiman South? Or
I'm talking about 2020.
No,
where you told the agreed to go to court.
And what has happened? Are you referring to 2024 in Techiman South?
2024, you are not asking the agreed to go to court.
No,
after the elections have been declared.
No, they didn't declare. What was that? Was fraudulent declaration. And the commission there, of all the institutions in Ghana, it's only the Electoral Commission that is mandated. Do you know, after they've done the declaration, they will also send a writ, what we call the writ of election, to the EC.
So you can gazette the results?
That writ will come before we can do the gazette. And the commission will not gazette anyone who, in our estimation, went through a fraudulent
You are just
process.
referring to your men who, and of course that's a fact that is out there, that there were certain constituencies that didn't have all the polling station figures.
And I think you mentioned that one.
Yes, those were your men. So you should be taking responsibility for your men being at a place they've been trained to do this. They know the CI, and yet they went ahead to declare.
In Okankwe North, Okankwe Central,
yes,
the declaration was done with 78%. And what you just read from the CI, it says all the polling stations. And you also mentioned that, when the chairperson was doing the declaration of the presidential election, didn't you hear the chairperson saying that there were 9 outstanding constituencies?
But she justified it by saying even if they had added the results, they would
still not make any difference. So the ones they did at Okankwe Central, Ablekumanov, Tema Central, they didn't make that point because it would have changed the outcome. And so that's the reason why we met on Saturday and we went through the process. So I think what maybe some people are not understanding is that commission is clothed with the powers, or let me put it, the authority to ensure that from the beginning to the end, all the right things are done. And that's just what we have done.
Was the NDC there during this recollation and redeclaration?
Oh, my colleagues who were there told me the NDC was there. But I saw some footages of NDC.
You're aware that they are still not happy with the recollation of the results?
I think, Beatrice, one of the things we must understand is that the Electoral Commission is a creation of the Constitution. There are clearly specified functions of the Electoral Commission, and we must perform those functions to the best of our ability to the letter.
And you think you've done that?
Oh, no, that's what we have done, and we are left with 2 to go. So the point is that whether someone is happy or someone is unhappy, that shouldn't be an issue. So that's why the law provides that if you are not satisfied with what the EC is doing, there is a way to go, but allow us to perform our
functions. Indeed, the Constitution says that just like you told the NDC in 2020, when you are not happy, you go to court. And that court is the High Court.
That court is the High Court.
It's the High Court. In this case, after the NPP, the 6 parliamentary candidates filed that mandamus at the High Court, asking that the Electoral Commission is mandated to recollate, and also that the Inspector General of Police is also obliged to provide security. You remember that the NDC went with an injunction which was overthrown on Friday when the High Court eventually gave its verdict, as it were. What we also understand is that just after the High Court did that, the NDC filed a certiorari at the Supreme Court to quash the decision of the High Court. What we are being told by NDC executives is that the certiorari was served on the Electoral Commission. You received or acknowledged receipt of that. The police administration, that's what we are told. The police administration as well. Yet, irrespective of this Supreme Court certiorari, you still went ahead and did what you did on Saturday. How do you respond?
I don't know about this certiorari at the Supreme Court. I don't know anything about it. But what I want to say is that the Commission has been given clearly defined functions. And those clearly defined functions, what my understanding of the legal process is that if even you are going to take the issue to court over parliamentary or presidential election, what you do is that you must allow the process to come to an end. The processes have not come to an end. So per the advice from our lawyers, what we did on Saturday was very, very much lawful as far as our laws are.
The lawyers, did it include the Attorney General?
The Attorney General is not our lawyer. We have our own.
Because the NDC is alleging.
Oh, no, I think that one is new.
That's the Attorney General. When you were contacted as to why you decided to go ahead, despite the Seshurara, you said that the AG had advised you were referring to was even on Friday.
So at what point would we contact the Attorney General? We have never contacted them. We don't do that. We have our own lawyers. We have our in-house and external counsels. We engage them. But the point I want to again put across is that what we have done is very, very much lawful. And Beatrice, you know, the Constitution is very clear. The CIs are very clear. We shouldn't encourage a situation whereby somebody has not won something, but because might is right in the era of power politics, then somebody will go there to a collation center. And I was giving you an example. It happened in 2004 in 4 constituencies in Peru, then the Brown-Hafo region. The collation was done in the Peru, I think, is in DH or one of the secondary schools there. Supporters of the MPP hijacked the place. A winner was declared for the NDC. The Electoral Commission Chair, Dr. Foria, got information that no, that person who was declared the winner wasn't the winner.
Doc, so
the right thing was done. A similar thing happened in, I think, Tolon, Yape Kusogo, and Zabzugu Tatale. The commission intervened, but for those ones there were no declarations. So what we are doing now, what commission is saying is that you can't say because you are stronger than someone, the person has won, then you should be declared the winner.
Doc, you don't think that what the Electoral Commission has done in this year's general election is setting a bad precedent where perhaps in the future, assuming that the presidential candidate is declared winner, EC can then come back and say that we are sorry, there were ABCD reasons and therefore we are going back?
You know, Beatrice, that cannot happen because the presidential election is declared by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. And before we declare, we get all the facts before we do. We only declare partially if what is outstanding will not make any changes to the outcome of the election. But for the parliamentary, didn't you hear political party supporters besiege the collation center? So when they besiege the collation centers, those places did not do proper collation. And what the commission is saying is that didn't you hear before the elections that all the parties were claiming that by 12 midnight, they would have gotten all the results from the polling station. So what we are doing now, these are results all the parties have. Commission doesn't know the winner of any of these outstanding ones. So what we are saying is that you have your pin sheet, bring all, let's put them together and get the winner. And I'm surprised that some people have issue with it when we need to ensure that truth is what must prevail in our society.
The founding member of CDD Ghana, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, thinks that what the Electoral Commission has done in this year's general election, you're only plunging the country into chaos. If it had not been the fact that there were individual or institutions that collated and they were able to declare the results, I mean, such as even the MPP itself, with the presidential candidate coming out just few hours after the elections to say that per our own data we realized that we've lost the election both at the presidential and the parliamentary level. H. Kwesi Prempeh thinks that if everything had been left to the EC alone with what is happening currently, perhaps you could have plunged the country into chaos. How do you respond to that?
I think Professor Prempeh doesn't have a copy of our CI. If you have a copy of the CI, we don't operate like the way political parties operate. YEC doesn't get results from the polling stations. YEC only gets results from the constituency collation centers. We are not in a hurry like political parties. What political parties do is that even in the presidential election, they get all the polling station results and they put them together and they know who has won and who has lost. The YEC doesn't operate like that. The YEC has a clear procedure which is specified in our CI. And that procedure says that after the close of polls, the results at the polling stations will be sent to the constituency collation center. So at the constituency collation, they will be sent there physically. We don't do electronic transfer of the results from the polling station to the constituency. It's physically. So from that point, to get the presidential, when they finish the constituency collation, the presidential results will now be sent to the regional office physically.
Doc, in this interview...
So the parliamentary one, so that is the one we do. So if we know the law, and this was what was used in 2020, so if anyone turns around and says that, oh, then the parties know.
The argument Prof is making is the same question I tried to ask you about 3 times, which is that, yes, you talk about getting all the polling station results, which is clearly spelled out in the CI, but there is also the bit about having declared. There is no provision in the CI that says that after you've declared, you can then go back and redeclare.
Beatrice, the EC is the one that begins and ends the process. The EC
so even after declaring, you can still go back.
After declaring, the EC must do gazetting, and those are the information we use, the rich and everything. The same people you are claiming they declared, they are saying that these are not the persons, and that the evidence we have. Look at Obuasi.
So why did they declare it? They knew that was it.
The reason which you are.
You said under duress.
You are pretending to accept.
It's not like
you are pretending.
You're saying
to accept.
under duress.
You know those things happen and you are pretending to accept.
You're saying.
Did you hear what happened at Tema Central?
Yes, you're saying under duress.
What happened at Tema Central?
We have seen current videos, even of the recollation, where your officers still seemed visibly under pressure. You wouldn't call that under duress as well?
You know, you've seen those 2 instances. What we are saying is that the commission doesn't care who becomes president. We don't care who becomes a member of parliament. What we care about is that our processes must follow.
Doc, you're not answering the question.
No, I'm coming to your question. Those people, didn't you hear the Tema Central guy saying that I will not do the declaration? Did you hear that one?
I heard that, but I'm just saying that
his family, his wife, the children have been threatened. So he thinks that he cannot do that again.
But you haven't answered the question directly.
Question about what?
That they were seen visibly, aside from the one who said that I'm not doing it again because of the threat.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. We had our director there. I didn't see anything like that.
So in this interview, you said that your lawyers told you that you sought counsel.
I've not said I've never seen any sexual harassment. I've never seen anything like that.
When I said that,
I'm saying that our lawyers have advised us that the processes we are doing is very, very lawful. So
whether or not there was a sexual harassment, that's what you're saying.
You have just mentioned it.
Okay.
I've not seen anything.
Are you aware the NDC feels like they know that you were served and you still went ahead? They will cite you for contempt.
I don't know anything about that. You just mentioned it today.
The party says it might cite you for contempt. How do you react to that?
No, the nature of our work is such that going to court is part of the process. So if anyone wants to cite us, that's well within their right to do that. But I think the point must again be made that this is a democracy we are building, and we must be committed to ensuring that the right things are done. We shouldn't, whether media, civil society, encourage any situation whereby somebody has not won. Then the person will send supporters to the polling station or to the collation center just to influence the outcome of the process. If we do that as a commission, we are setting a very bad and a dangerous precedent for our democracy. We don't know what is going to happen in the near future. And as I gave you the example, it happened in 2004, the commission went in. Even in 96, it happened in the Fantiakwa constituency. The commission intervened and the wrongs were corrected. So the media must be supporting the commission, because how do you declare parliamentary election results without 22% of the polling station results?
So from where you stand, or from where you sit, the commission has done a yeoman's job.
Everyone, that's why in the right-thinking society, this is not something we should disagree. In any right-thinking, well-functioning society, this is something nobody should disagree. That an institution is doing the right thing, which must be applauded by all. Do you want to begin your reign with on the foundation when somebody didn't win, then you are saying that the person has won? We can't do that in this country.
Doc, your final word.
Oh, my final word is I think the commissioner has done an excellent job in this election. For the first time, somebody conceded the presidential election.
But that wasn't your doing.
Oh, but the processes we put in place, if the processes were not that transparent and scientific, we wouldn't have gotten to that point. And the reports from observers as well as your good selves, an indication that, but these outstanding parliamentary constituencies which nearly rattled our democracy. I think everything went on excellently. We've engaged a lot of the observers from the African continent, AU, ECOWAS, Commonwealth, the International UN. All of them seem to be happy with the process. Domestic observer, Kodeo, and everyone. So
I know that's your final word, but how do you respond to the claim or allegation from critics that perhaps you are in cahoot with the NPP to prevent the NDC from absolute majority in Parliament?
You can read my lips. The Commission doesn't care who becomes majority in Parliament. We don't care who becomes minority in Parliament. What we care about is that let's follow the law. Let's do the right things. Because if we want to become an effective society, a law-abiding society, let's make sure that anyone who wants to abuse our system is not allowed. And this one, we as citizens must rise up, regardless of whoever we support. We shouldn't support anyone who engage in abuse of the law. That one will not help us.
So you're not even bothered about the claims that if it had not been transparency or vigilance on the part of a lot of people, the EC might have helped to rig the election?
I know people say things to excite their base, but let's be very clear. It's the vigilance of the EC, the citizens, which has brought us to this point where parties themselves told themselves that, by 12 May, they would have gotten the results from all the polling stations because of the measures the EC.
But the fact that people outside the Electoral Commission were able to collate and give their results in time, and it took the Electoral Commission so long to do that, you don't think that that's inefficiency on your part?
No, that's what I'm saying. When people are ignorant about a process, the way they comment about the process is different. The EC, this is a law passed by Parliament in 2020. So I think 2020 March, or this is a law from the Parliament of Ghana, and this law clearly specifies how EC will get results. This is something the parties are aware. All the party executives, I know they have copies. Media personnel, they have copies, and it specifies how EC must get results. We cannot get the results like the political party. We have several levels, from the polling station physically to the constituency collation center. Maybe the question you can ask is that because of what has transpired, what is the EC going to do differently in 2028? But currently, until we change this law, our process is such that from the polling station to the constituency, physically to the constituency, there is no electronic.
I'm sure by now you've thought about that same question.
Yes, so anyone who based on what has transpired to say because of that, then you don't understand the process. So from
hindsight and moving away from this CI, what do you think would work better for the Electoral Commission?
The Commission will meet with its stakeholders. After every election, we meet with our stakeholders to look at what was done excellently, what can be improved moving forward. So we will discuss all that.
I want you to finish on your final word.
In terms of final word, I was making the point that I think the EC again has risen to the occasion. But for the few 12 outstanding constituencies which nearly rattled our democracy, we've done an excellent job, and I think all Ghanaians must be proud of what we've been able to achieve. In terms of turnout, we're expecting more than what we have seen, but I think that ours is not a compulsory voting system. We are not like Argentina, Australia, some of the countries that have compulsory voting. So we will go with the numbers that showed up, and we do expect that 2028 Commission will again rise to the occasion and put Ghana again on the map.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your time.
My pleasure.
First, your brief assessment of the recollation and redeclaration.
In terms of assessment, so far we had 12 outstanding. We've been able to do 10 of them. We did 3 earlier. And
Abusian for nice and sema ya diabegu ho amamono no. Nsema asie no. Se de atie ni nyina ne se. De EC boss any NDC journalist share ya no mu kan. Ye nyina yate. Akwete said the NDC journalist omo TV3 omo ye NDC for na omo ye adwuma e de amomo party e wo TV so. Je say wushi omo no ne omo kasa obetumi aka de opa bia, but so far as sabio omo eni adwuma ye de ahye omo nsenti omo TV station hono de obetumi aka de opa bia, but bere bia no they will never allow you even to explain yourself or to let people understand exactly what you are trying to explain to the public. Because so what Papa was doing was trying to explain to the people, for the people to get the clear understanding of what is going on. But unfortunately, you can say, your friend is saying, are you fool? Agent, you see, Omodi, said some miraculous declare results now. There is no way that you can change it. That's a mpono be the talk with you, be so say, can say, mammy. Now, Nipanaka and that threat to them, no, so far as a judge now, Mranaka say, you cannot change what has been pronounced by the East in Omodi. They have no other thinking. They cannot think outside the box. What they are thinking is the law has said. Say now, so you cannot change it. But when you know, I have plans and ideas or more far. And I'm no soon to Munina to Kogu police station ho. A bomb more than say, to me, a cause chaotic situation. Say the Baya. Easy for Nina Daji and your more Juma, a was soon be more quanya a fatane so. Say the Baya. Sabio, Obia Wari, Oberry, Nanka Sabio, Bia, only, Yansono, one way. And they have been able to win this. But I was a minimum year, cry. And then, Judge Nicosia, or the verdict abba, or the verdict abba. I bet the children in Semu. Now, signing 7 or bet the children. And I'm a bomb home more than a boa no kama, a project and a kama. Say me de bremo, na menimunina ache atie. Now, Mr. say, and your first time I waba platform with Swa. But Modern so be then over subscribe to the channel. But Modern so says be over like video no. But Modern so be jaw comment. Comment section box near to me after Swaya then Eddie Achiao. He knew any oha a year Juman the young cobo bia. Mr. say be yan to waseka crabia mamena video no abena. Asema mbisa ni se enti dia na wodwene efa nsema DrBossman Asare eka ye ho de ben e na wodwene wadwen kire e wo ho ene sei asema DrBossman Asare kan ye na eto asu the TV3 radio presenter no na oye na djuma yie na oye bias ana se na oye na djuma yie ni nyina no betumi a kire wadwen e wo comment section box ho na ya kan amount whilst we are getting ready for the video sabio ebe shoko about what actually has happened today at the Supreme Court. Yen nyina ya tete no mframa mu say Supreme Court ayedan e de judgment bi aba concerning demand or the decision to recollate everything. But then judges no the decision be about se menu nyina enkoche ne nkotie. But before we listen to that, yentie video way.
Everyone yenya be made in samunam. Boba myentie. Bossu complain adoso. Yenim say MPP ni Akufo-Addo aban no. Like 24/7 e ma cost for the ton ade. Yenim say dey Ghana ne dey bosen e dey Ghana. E dey ya bosen a enim so mu dey ye. Na so so buy say bossu ye bibi ne je complain no bossu complain doso. Complain o mo boka 2.5 billion into there into bossu say nya dey. Enti na like 24/2 dey o tira. O dey o mo sa aka no. Ba o mo mu be dey o bedum like me boa. Bossu 2.5 billion. Who dey also so man ko for na light ni nyina so mai. Just how they own person who be basem. To the old and say, Ubedundum light and amae. Ubedundum light and now them dear to Akufo-Addo ideas, so I say, Omututi Akufo-Addo no. Best in so many Jumanye, better in so much as I said tax about it. Abatoso. It to the old man also Ubedundum light and about who cried and cow the old crowd or moment or metao bedozo, coastal for metao, and coastal for metao. And now headbusters for super tau. And a boy said, to take Akufo-Addo so more better. Oh, super tau because when you light in fire and charge on phone. Shop, brave, oh, Kumasi, like a human market, wo kuma so beta two tiny there e be drobo to mesra bosu jedi mesra ja compeno wo de ye de waf wo de betu won de be de betumi enim so my Ghana no bia ba o de obobo se na de manage o man no e ba wo de ase unyan trans ba compeno e toss no do bosu wo de so bia boka 2.5 billion wo de so ada so ba me gina hon ma na so re kakra be de enim se kakra de de be de account kakra be count na ma light ni nyina so me go light na bosu e de ye bibia o se nyuma ni o mani ma ye light no ene yamade ye light ni yam toast ye de yam mo ye de yam bro ama nkofo atoko ni ada ma nkofo de yekuko ni ada de bosu champion mesira o tell me bomra ne no light ni de mani nyina so ma ye penfo so wanya bibia mo wase wanya de ye nyam no kro no because compare na Saturday ba no before ene ma light ni nyina so because ma bo ka to an me se eka ene mu de ye ma light ni nyina so etu so ba no ada so be maka na gina ho ana so de kakra be ebere ebe ka ho na light na gina so mai what start complain say there boss na is light na person do my yo champion JDM light na so person do my keke ele ga o time be do so
anuanom ye nia be me de nsem nam boboba mmayanti ai
boss complain na do so yenim say MPP ni Akufo Addo aban no light ni so 24/7 e ma cost for the ton ade yenim say de Ghana ne de bosse ne de Ghana e de ya bosse a enim so mu de ye na so ba ye se bosu ye bibi ne je complain no bosu complain to so complain o mo boka 2.5 billion inti bosu say nya de inti na light ni so to da o kira o da o mo sa aka no ba o mo mu be de o bedum light me bo a bosu 2.5 billion would also so man for na light ni nyina so maye je say wo de won pesa wo ho be ba asem ti wo de ne say wo bedundum light na maye wo bedundum light na na won de tie tu Akufo Addo ade so na say o mu tuti Akufo Addo no ba sin so mu nya adwuma nye ba ti no so mu twa so Asare tax abede abato so e ti wo de wo ba no so bedundum light na bo so wo kra de nka wo de o meta wo bedozo cost of betao cost of betao
abusianfo na ene esede emu nyina mote ye no sara na eko papa ibu jai complain na ye juma ema ye abusia ye nkonkonko tie nsema esi court ne nsema esi court ne efa saa konwa ya nkonwa ahodo ya ho asem aba Ghana manmu a ye hu se de nsim fa kono ene judge abekasa ye nkonkonko tie abusia higher RAZ Media but modern so be subscribe to the channel but home modern so be like video na ja comment section box wo ye ba ye be kan ni nyina ama ye nkonko tie judge
Tatsina se ama womo se enipa bi ade asambada court se abacho bedwa electoral commission recoalition na woye na agina so woye redeclaration ama de court so constituencies ahodo no se entawanto we si ye ntinipa bi anti wo mo ho ase no wono esanya collect biem na no ache no watimi abobo na enipa wodi nkunim e wa abato no mu wahunu no wode ho susuaso ba abonten no enipa bi a wo manti wo ho ase atabira asam no e de akọ Supreme Court and the Supreme Court the whole atemu ababontene asema Supreme Court o kan nyina ne say constituencies ahodo mako enkro no ye ho ba asemo no asese electoral commission abobomu enso ama enso ni nyina akwakodi MPP amanyeko na fase womo ene womo na emusifo a ekopre as parliamentary candidate womo na edi kan no Supreme Court asada no say enya no kre womo abu asame de amani pedi asem no ekọ court ho no mo na asema womo ka kire say enye baby a ana asisa constituencies ahodo ya wo mka ho asem eye 9 eye Okaikwe Central constituency Ablekuma North ka ho Tema Central and Techima South one mo na wo mo say electoral commission so why recoalition na why declaration abobono de obobo ya na nya noa enye lokre wo meto agu enti wo ma de asem ne court na di nkonim na wo mo kire mu asansem a esi ye e wo abato na chibra wo mo constituencies a wo coalition center say what constituencies ho ekwaye final coalition ho ema obobo abani wiye no dodo no na kodi NDC amanyeko na afa na nso na summit me wase ahodo bi si ye ho nti electoral commission ye say wono abeje na wakenkan de di kan kra nsa na wo besi sa agina ye no wo mu di kan di asem no anase coalition no eko eyi emiamia ahodo bi ye ho antentam say wo se wo mu kankan na nka obi ate ne ho ase no antentam de ekosi awie ye kra ayetesa no police station no woko wo mu ko ye wo ya eye body no anane mankan enti na wo se electoral commission si wo sha na wotimi ebam na wo se sa wo sha asem obi asipan Dr. Verijan pen so ena ebisi ye wo se 1988 ebisi ye 2004 ebisi ye ema wo mu ko ye asa kenkan biem ema wie ye ne yehunu de wodi nkunim enti se ko bani sa wo mu ko wachi na wa hye de si ye no na wo ye binti ebi ena abato bedwa electoral commission eye a aba besi de asie na na nipa de do no su se wo mu te ase a enye ye sanse ba bia electoral commission de asem no nam no wo mu hye a enye ho ena nam enti wo mu so edi akira wo de asem no akodua Supreme Court sesi a Supreme Court je si a wo mu si ye no de wo mu ka nyina ene sem empenimfo nsem a wo maka ene de electoral commission aye no waka ye de na so ensem a wo ma de asem no beto wo manim aka de wo ma twiro ene hwehwemu kakra wo mu so aye ensembisa wo ma bisa ene so wo mu de atoto Ghana mra ifa abato ho no ene ne bobra enti enya de a wo mbetena se ama sa nhwe na koso ama wo mu age atomu enti wo mu sem electoral irregularities chese kitirigiti ne mentime ho ase challenges kakra si akọ kakra ba ye ba abato no mu no ema mra wo se edi so hyehyeye wo se edi ye adwuma na se bebre na no ya mfa anya adwuma ensem ahodo a ekọ Supreme Court ekasa ebra empanimfo etena ase ema wo mu eka ho asem no yenkotie ebra na rule ne ba ene nsem apie ye edi fi Supreme Court epono so baaye
by the proceedings in the mandamus application, and the least he could have done was to grant them a hearing on the facts and the law upon which the application was brought. Our courts and all courts, especially in the common law tradition, have held this right to a hearing so sacrosanct that under the circumstances of this case, the applicant ought to have been given a hearing, notwithstanding or irrespective of the provisions of Order 4, Rule 5 of CI 47 on joinder generally and Order 55 on judicial review. In the case of Awini versus West Africa Exams Council 2003-2004, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, the Supreme Court quashed a decision of an administrative body, that is the West Africa Examination Council, for failure to accord persons a right to a hearing. The statute under which the West Africa Examination Council functioned did not expressly confer a right to a hearing, but the Supreme Court held that the West Africa Examination Council ought to have accorded those affected a right, since the right to a hearing had been elevated to a constitutional right in Article 23. If that had been held to bind administrative bodies, how much more a court of law? In the case of ex parte Hawa Yakubu, the High Court in Bolgatanga made orders in an election matter which affected Hawa Yakubu, a candidate at the election. And though she was a non-party, the Supreme Court held that on the facts in the case, the High Court violated her right to be heard and quashed the orders of the High Court. The interested parties say that because Mr. Godwin Elbridge Temeklo was allowed by the trial judge to speak, he was accorded a hearing. But they must realize that he was allowed to speak as a friend of the court, as recorded by the judge himself, and not as counsel for the applicants. This is an unfortunate misunderstanding of what amounts to a hearing in the mandamus application of this nature. Hearing plainly required the applicants to have filed an affidavit in the matter and to have made legal submissions. In this case, none of that happened, so the trial judge violated the right to a hearing of the applicants. Now to our orders. We have taken note of the fact that the applicants did not contend that there had been earlier completed collations in respect of Esawam Adwajiri and Ahafwano North constituencies per paragraph 8 of the affidavit sworn to by Fiabi Kwete dated 16 December in support of the motion for judicial review filed by the applicants on 16 December 2024. Since the orders which have been brought to be quashed are separate and distinct, we have decided to exercise our discretionary power to quash by certiorari, having regard to the peculiar circumstances of each ruling. Consequently, we hereby quash the orders of mandamus.
Yes. Where Supreme Court kwa shabem ne de enye discharge asem kwa shabem ne de enye eyi asem where kwash ya titi papers ya tuagu baby ya ano dine chair discharge ensin semwa Supreme Court ni tu dwa no na de nyina yenka ne ehunu ne se baby a wo ma kwashe de isi every election no anasa recollation achi results no mo de ba ye ene declaration no wo ma kwashe abo atuagu no eye constituencies and 9 Okaikwe Central, Ablekuma North, Tema Central, and Atechima South. And watching one say, and so one do a dear coalition ye, one of the results in the by Nagina, the Gina, the win it. I have one no east, and also Sada, win it. Eti a won sam no guso ya elbow bana said ye Ghana yete no interesting times ahead ye nim se ye to aba wie se ye no a aya na ye test mra ne pa Supreme Court an obi akro eti se ye se police station wo ene constituency wo so wani nkunuma wa jejeje nya fe na akogira ba bia ka he eti no wasam ne ho nkomo ene ye koso no nti mra no ma ho kwan se BBC na wonti ase na ompene so a enkokonto kwankobɔ ma enkotwe kontima ne se kan Brantan nim court na be chirechirem eti sese no de achia pa ne se high court odi ka tina asam ne so kan ye wie ye e kan se ane wo mo de asam ne ba court no watete wo nkrata ma togu wo de asam no wa ji asam na togu ama mo difo no sese Supreme Court nchire mu ye de abai a chire se constituencies ni bi ho no mu a high court no ama emra no anya adwuma na wo mo ka chire ma chire se wo yakura na edu ba bi a ensam na wasan ka afre na nipa ya bɔ no kwadu nipa wasam ka na oba bɛka nasɛm nanso so we na sɛ ya ma wo mo kwan ama wo ma ama meka wo ma sɛm nti ama ɛho nsɛm na ayɛ ne ayɛ bebre enti ya bɛkɔ ama no so na yɛ di nkɔmɔ na afre ya hwɛ bisa ho nsɛm kakra ahwɛ sɛ die na empanifo ɛka na ɛho asɛm ɛne sɛ yɛnkɔ ama so na ne deputy general secretary ama NPP ama yoko na Haruna Mohammed eni nkɔmɔ ne emisa ne sɛ sɛdeɛ Supreme Court akasa no sɛ na manyoko no so mu Haruna salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yade
ya fe alaw
yo yamani si hwa na hwa na me de ne esie minim say Supreme Court ruling na omodi aba concerning 4 constituencies Okaikwe Central, Ablekuma North, Tema Central and Techima South no what's it be minim say the amanyoko no so mfa
yo matibi yedi kan mebe chia obi biara otie Angel TV and then Supreme Court ACIA and your lawyers and the EC lawyers and the NDC lawyers in Asia and Supreme Court. Now, case Asia no a NDC application for a review. And I said, Omo apply Emma Supreme Court say Omo beti Omo say Omo the case of natural justice say Omo Omo the mandamus application. Na ye call no Supreme Court aka say two of the constituencies are Edaho, any Sawam, Adjari, any Ahafano North. And the declarations are it was done within the remits of the law. And the Oman Kaki Alphaso. Almost 4 coalition centers, and I said 4 constituencies are the NDC are almost joining as a party. And there was no natural justice. Now, Omutimi argue on case, and the Supreme Court almost a particular 4 coalitions. Now, Omo appointed, and as Omo say, Omo appointed new judge, say, okay, so now by 31st of December, now case on web and the MPP as a party, the party, rule of law, and we are not questioning the decision of the Supreme Court. But young one, and if judgment. It can be because it's not.
Mr. Afacha me onkomo no ba bia wadru na ho hia ya pa enso so ho ma no atwitwi ne mu kakra so obetimi agina ba bi ya ma yen ya na yetie o
unfortunately now my catcher say me free no
onam kwa so yo afedi eye kra eye
and the as a party we are not against the Supreme Court. We will appear before the court. Hearing will be given the NDC, and we believe that the rules of natural justice will be adhered to, but we will still make our case to ensure that the spirit of CI 127, Regulation 43, the processes of procedure, but
Mobi Babisa say a young one say Supreme Court question the whole process no ne recollation no ne results na batch no one kakra
we know that
ahumano o se wo nam kwan so a wo kọ ba bi nti asa ahumano twetwe ne mu kakra ahumano twetwe ne mu enimu ayen enti ye behwe se ye besa puso eru na ahumano biem na ya hwe se ye betimi anya no a na wato aso ye ne kasa no o kase wo nam kwan so a wo kọ assignment bi nti unse kwan so na ntie de network no Ghana unam kwan so ba bi kọ ba bi ana network ne nheda enimu ayen nti utie na unse wo kasem batem network ne mo ayen enti ye pese ye ne ye tiefo ne ahefo hunu na afa ye te de wo kan mu yie no ye be se ye be so apusu ahoma no ye nya no na mu da ho a ye ne no bedi nkomo ebusanfo de ne kasa ye NPP General Secretary abedi akire Deputy Haruna Muhammad on ne kasa ye ne be hese ye nya ne biema ne no ebeto aso enkomo we nti ye be sa kwa National Democratic Congress NDC amanyoko ni so abobo ano na ya hwese ye benya Dr. Rashid Tanko computer wono aye Deputy Director Elections and IT ene na di nkomo na ya hwe ye be ka ya ye ne no kasa ye na wotwe ye mu efa de High Court so e de beto udwa High Court is resource na ruling na High Court de ba ye no ye ne kasa ye e wo ho ma o kasa NDC ntiase na ntiase chena ene ne Supreme Court de nso ababeto so nti yenko amaso e na ye ne nkasa doc ye da sepa no bre ye ma dwoso ba angel kase so
me head
nyame adom abofo no onsa angel so de wo mo ye adwuma enti wo mo da so aboy ho ba ye ho ye pa ye nimsam nso ho ye
hadi aboko send India democracy na eda edinkuni
eye pa obani ye no kasa na wotwi mu efa High Court ne ruling no de ba ye ono so yes application a mo de ba ye no waboto agu a che se electoral commission adwuma wo ye no ensande enyina ho e ma wo kan se NDC mo ntra ho nye di mo be ubetu na mount de besi bia no mo dru bridge no so a mo be hu ba bia mo de befa enne Supreme Court atena se ama constituencies 4 and 9 isi ye recollection edi new results aba declare NPP amanyokuo no PC say gina mu de ma wo mo no se omumom ene di nkunim no ese wo se wakwahye wa ye firi ho wato atwene se enyina emra no kirekire mu no enyina sen na mo som wo ha
minia se me kancho dada say ye reach bridge na ye be cross enyesa
okay
nze hu say Supreme Court no omo kwashi decision ne no mo koye high court no se me kancho say ade no mo koye ne nyekwa a travesty of justice because at the end of judge no ko rule on that day on the 20th and then nyekwa it was a wrong ruling, complete wrong ruling then nyekwa because who can hear ruling kwa na it was affecting nipa na nipa no ba ho the council said mami listen to me, hear me, because the decision you are going to make no it will affect me now say one panic. So it was like collusion omo ko ye ade no quick Saturday no mo ko ye kokofu ohonu mo ko ye burunya party and declared themselves winners. Nano mo ko ye no Supreme Court passion in na yes have started to flow because at the end of mo ye ne mo monja to mo say nye almost bi. So we are going back to court on the 31st. All said new judge cry no mo di ba. Supreme Court say judge no on na case ne bio. Mo uniform because juma no ye no nye onye de ye. So mo uniform ho no mo sa fa judge fufu ba. On tena case no na nhwe so se se na e ka no case adwuma no nyina no mo ye reach office electoral commission on regional office ni nyina Supreme Court kwahye ni nyina ye adwuma
ye misasa o tie o mu ruling na was ruling no affecting sa wo ma do agiri any ahafo no is enka no ntina che se processes na isi course so ye recollection ye declaration no ho de wo ma anko ho ho so kakra na mu ye okay
say no there you better start for process bi aba because yen je to ho no mo koye no because that one there you see our case no na recollection asem na e kasa what you see. But as someone do agire any ahafano southwest, any ahafano north, 3 constituencies, no more we are collation. What I say? No more collation. So your case no and affect you. But we have case with it. It's a separate case we are filing against those 3 guys. But wait there, 6 constituencies winning now. And now almost declare my say 5 no, and in no more year no, more year, more questioning now.
Eti da ben na mo satna se court da ben
31st.
Okay 31st na ye kwaya all night no mo court
ye court na se me kan cho say ye reach bridge na cross because you pin da o omo pede omo wie siso no yesu ye mamo mo kwan mo ko wie siso no Ghana for mo oboto abama NDC mo pede o you say electoral commission office na ko wie sit mamo as pan mo pede mo ye no ye mpene
Doctor ye fancy ya 31st mbako court die monko na ye dimachi nti de besi bia nkomo ba na wo se ye ba ye besa afra ya na waje yeso
mati we da say
yensu ye da se pa ebusan for the attending nkai wono director deputy director elections and IT at the National Democratic Congress NDC amanyuko no Dr. Rashid Tanko computer ne na ate ye no na ne sa ye ehunti ye nsan kwa ahoma no so ye da so agina ahoma no so se ya ye ne lawyer Pokumi eni nkomo na ye nhwe sa ruling na Supreme Court ade aba no won to kanea nto so ye mfa nkire ye na fe ye nti ase wo mu no enkom ye na ye hunu de asie no se ya se Ghana kakra ye te kabi mami kabi abato ne mra ye wo ho no se kiri no etwam eti next 4 years elections yes remo ye mpe ye ne kwa bia biem do lawyer atmenka encho kase esu ni madwo lawyer ba atmenka
metu wonka
no me da sepa official paso
abudai sɛ ne nyinaa tinkɔ.
Amen. Amen. Supreme Court on some year one the other 2 day. If you see a 2 one some aba ye Juma ye that's why the chira an election I see a dear chira ni sunset to try na said the other bomb for Friday Supreme Court ruling now the aba abonte akwashe 4 constituencies are electoral commission re-election you can say re-coalition area the results for by declare pieces binoma previously no na womo to abane wi na enye womo na ebeto dwa se womo na edi enkunim edi ba beto dwa ama se wakwahye menim ni nyina nkamfu ano how do you who processes ni nyina ayekoso ne sayansa na ye wura nkomunimu ankasa ahoma no ate obi anto yeduro anomano ano atie enti ye behani asepusu bie ma hwe se ye nsa beka lawyer kumi Paul kumi na ye na ato ankomodie no so because say ase eno ana e wose ye du ho nkomo na no so ho nkomo abeto dwapa sanse ebra ye to aba ne wie ye no ntinu ahye ba kire no na edoso nipa dodo no a na wo mo hwe ni mu se ye benya se nipa semesi ana abenten na ye constituency won na ye bedwani a wokọ akogina ya na emo again ye ni musa na electoral ye can say parliament at the online portal sende woma di nkunim anase parliamentary candidates na wonim se womo na edi nkunim elections ni mu no se emahye bedwafo de ma womo se womo siase na womo nye online registration ya ekoso yi ene se registration in person ekoso yi se wo behwe yes wo na wa win afeche obere yes asase no nyewa where are we going e de na ekoso de ne ye eno wonsem no yegusu a ye rese ebetimi anya nchemu pa sanse enne electoral commission beka se we na win wo china yes da bi nyewa enne yes we ensem no aye bebre yankwai na yenhwese bese enya ne biemu a na ye ne enini ni nkomo onyama ahoma ne so nti yenyan man ne beto nkomo ne so ye to aso ne yo yenkwa ahoma ne so oh
hello
la otimenka maju biem
so
yo me da se facha ya ahoma no atwi ni mu kakra sele na me bisa no processes no ne de akoso ni nyina de di kan high court de a wo de ba ruling wo de ba ne ne de Supreme Court so de abai cheche ye mu kakra de na ekoso yi
okay but sure de ba ne se na ye won 9 constituencies are na problem kakra e wo enunti eye ina no MP before no ede sa 9 constituencies no e hon sem ede kodani the high court Accra high court no emma order say yenko ye regulation in respect of 7 of the various constituencies you know. There were other ones and Domikwabinya any another constituency and almost any be no almost Domikwabinya any Sawam into almost they had not at the time when fully completed almost collation supposedly it did the others now not a year in respect of 7 constituencies are a friend saying collation no a basso it you know the NDC for a file petition and now some file session right our Supreme Court was high court no a fast so a day share say you sa collation and I say you could declare results of from man yard it's an say ya momo kwan amomo so omo ntumi ameka asembia emfa de na high court no aka say yenkwan no isane say the high court no e kan no eno asususu so no etia eye NDC for omo biomedical candidates no na eno na ne eno kan ho asem e Supreme Court for the Supreme Court no nyansem no
almost say 4 of the constituencies judge I can't say recollation and only the almost to see pass as the other commission for will be and the only pay juma number and someone they are almost and I have found I don't know here almost to say mbra anase osha jeju no e ma say ho omo results no yenkoye na indeclare winner no and they no kwanso elo no but there is a small problem bi e wo hanoma no ebi nya say NDC paying for no obecheche mu kakra it's say the woman say NDC for no na omo ka say nipa and so ibi wasam eni enka azusu nipa na omodo mu nsam so economy nipa besia wasi east case no so na eka nia judge no ema order say yenkoye sari collection na indi it you know ye ka say all this na ye mai na wasi east enka ho ntu be hwa ebra judge no o kan say wie no or say for the avoidance of doubt or more regulation or more AC chain or Ablekuma North or Tema or Techima or Kankui as so one fat a friend saying to was Eastern Town. See, an area as I say, NDC for no share. Let anyone no almost cost Supreme Court could be. Na omoka myself otherwise the other commission for can say it's only say young camp she into omofa say ubasi is the end there
assembly ni ho
into beja NDC for no pay you know all can say almost six na camp assembly elu but all that na no all that no in respect of seats and 9 and yet 60 elu it's an ubasi east no there no encounter o share omo man so omo the Supreme Court no e kana kwese say ubasi east there so and so answer that could be papa e wo hono but acha emu ye omutumi akọ it's an say uti judgment no ye no omo say judgment no orders no in respect of the specific constituencies just say constituency be an assembly each that and one so into no na nka mo dey na go mu akebete
because like I always say dom kwabenya ene Ablekuma North na per 9 constituencies na electoral commission recollation no wo ma wiemu 7 na 2 ne de wo mo nya nwie ba wo judgment ruling ya Ablekuma North wo mbi but dom kwabenya enka ho doesn't mean say omunwie ho de na so ho results bi bia ombeye ho bia no Supreme Court so agitumu say ho de o mbetimi aye na say no so how bia ni ho say Supreme Court beye
say they will say o court no was some other court na ni mu no I don't know the pressure so aka ho asem the amount until wo hwe NDC for omo we don do kwai no almost the 6 constituencies in some and the coye and yeji imu and 9 atumu say the year no and see inimbremu intianu enjoy sign miruna kanede court no enyansem no the year no and no enti yentwaso it is a yankron na say this for no yansem mu the ensian the coye science and the call Supreme Court no and that Supreme Court for the bidding ujuma dia ma
but say no you sure you ne NDC election and IT director deputy edin komo se siama wa chema che say the aka ni nyina wo mo san kwahye wo mo ho na o ma san ba yenhwe se de ene parliament yenim say every Saturday ko 7 January ebre nim bia bebre bia sa enti ya dada no na obete ya say una wa wini ade chese da binya wa ya say ya coalition foforo ya say we na wini ya mra ni mu ni ya nhihye ye ni mu no de etise ye no mi hu say bi atasi say de ye hu no enei ebi asi de ba na de ya esi na say do sododo ya test of the mra no ene ya ti ase enti say ye de ani akọ pa ye ne sa no ana say politics na say yente ye ho ase ankoye nya fande a ekọ bi afa enye no kre ene ye ne say
the order say na Ghana for MP no be fufuro ba na ye won bebre na mo sa de fufuro na ba no na ene so ebie ni amaya tembrase amaya TV ase amaya tensi biase the order say e bi mrebia e kase on the 7th of January no as I say yes swaying 276 members of parliament
omunyina
the even rebia e kasa because e ba say e bi ra be to abano and e bia omo ra be to so abano e bi obakofo bi ewuye ewo mu a yen kase ni ba ko no ewu ti ni en to abano to so there be e be ma the other party with the opportunity say omo fa enipa fufu enye den e just say the ba ko no independent candidate and do wu and no manamum so oye a candidate on the ticket of a party say the pakon ewu ebia about say 2 or 3 days to the time no
I the best swear parliament in na
parliament the no the party won kwan say omo enye hihye na won fo bi fofo ebra
na say ho na ho nkohia say be by election biem
omo don be and yes by election mo be twen omo elections no so I confirm say some party no mundi pa omo candidate no aka be no omo dey ono ebe dey ebeba na ye hihye fofo na ya to aba no ewo sa constituency ho no that arrangement no the likelihood say baso sa omo to be sa member of parliament to be no and my parliament on the 7th of January no into the yenti and once say you ra a catcher kitiki say on the 7th of January no it's a see just 276 members of parliament nina ewo asana niema akosi no member omo electoral commission for edo wonsa ahye omudin ase na we ni efro say ya gazette omodi akọ publishing ya jatu no say we ni wo mo a ye hira so say omodi nkunim na electoral commission for edis are listening they are the clerk of parliament omo any ever so mu in at the 7th of January no itini akosi na no ye can say bia o ye mo very short time by Tuesday they should go there and a whole lot of them omo ko Tuesday no na say there are some other legal processes bia a big number na impossible say there is management on that day and I never really on that day iti when my nyina enya bi say we never ya you between PT7 January deadline it me ya akeye of course we have to take note of that. The other aspect also any near NDC former deputy IT papa no ekan no ewu say Supreme Court no aka say someone any another area be no omo results na ya declared by the EC no correct inti yentu NDC form our right under Article 99 for them to proceed via an election petition at the High Court. And it's one to me no we say the union another prayer. And yes, I said now you said no why the song because Supreme Court I can say no. Supreme Court no I can only in respect of the electoral commission for no a year. It's in the performer or no NDC for contestants or no they all map back to the Supreme Court review, but he can go to the High Court to say a choir electoral commission for FR so ana niema bi esisi ye ansa na yinya sa results no entwe yi into area then declare no as the winner and I say the course no anko yi into no yechum na ye yini fofo nti those ones so eh am ye di say elo no e kwa se na papa na you say ni dey the computer me wa
I tanko computer doctor or a doctor
engineer no na the computer no so if you buy no and say that is also appropriate they can still challenge that particular one.
And yeah, interesting times power anima yeah this year dear yeah this year yes because say be no NC it's yes yeah fahuna yes dear at this point no ya to aba me kaisa mem say 2012 president now his excellency as abre no candidate ema NPP na do danko akufo-addo eko Supreme Court after election no declaration say NDC and a winning yeah ema his excellency JDM etna so yeah Supreme Court for almost 9 months na ye husa journey no ye fam 2016 and so 2020 and also so NDC eko Supreme Court say bi and also ye fam a na de ye fam ni na mi bisa se afega na ye ti emra na se ye ti anamontuo na se ana tintin si e party na enti ne ye de yi
oh the big say near ekoso no near NDC for a year near NPP for a year my na omo ka kwasam nti mo asam mo kani na on da akọtụ a year ajeji for any ti ni ajeji for no be kan no na say na e den yi so
okay
ni me person bi ku say e den to kwa e bebe mu ye de bia ebechitu na ikunkun for a program for the keka ho I don't know we live from electoral and as election violence and only in part of the elections you know now we are to abene we they happy with coin be a fast so and they determine the winner no and you know you won't I say ni aya no I there will be engine one or we see there's a fast so now what if you say ya wo si ya fa na paso amfa ye no ya pesa kwano so na sa wasa no so ewu mu a ya ka bi edi amount last time ya papa akufo-addo ewu ni elections no obiti you Bahama by close to 1 million votes that is 925,000 na Ghana for you say be AC that here they can say never in the history of Ghana and yet BT an incumbent a party by close to 1 million votes and then they see NDC for at BT NPP for in excess of 1.6 million. That's almost 700,000 votes more than the Ananado ADBT Mahama. Me are interested in this. They say Mahama he beat him by 975,000 votes, you know. And now I be beating him, by more than 1.6 million votes. New things are coming, and we should all be ready. Now when you depend, you know, you to who say you share it before I walk on. Now humility. Not yet shady before. As for politicians, there I can assure you, say, Niaobeya Mano, no Lubenya to me, what was so able to me, okay. Say a bonu, say a papa. So long as I get away, a ensure that on over trap power, and now I say, Nia Oye Mano, and the Moya power, okay. But my main country gonna put me. Okoye Opasia, now do Kugara to pay. Ibicha wechi eda chirawo oye bia enfa bra kwanso na bra so mu kuba ko de fiase iga no bi no mi de chira and say bia bo mu chu ko mo it is a election some party win you some party lose you almost here do nti yenya nyansa ni o say Ghana for ye share adwin say ye pesa aban we and I pesa party we. Ye mon pa say nyame ebema sa party for no. So benya badaye dia mayen. Na mo de no kure ni nyame suru ani opepa e de be die man. I said you omo sipini no. So atika kra
atika kra lawyer ye jawa mo akoba ba ko bia akoye enkomo asese yedie electoral commission position now yenim sa 2020 elections mo Techima South and CBCC wo ho ema electoral commission ema yete ase se electoral commission penia ono na returning officer e constituency coalition center ho declare PCB se ono ana ye kan aba nyina wieye no wadi nkunimu a enya afei ena obia esa isi ni hwe ye biem na emom de onti ase no court no obekọ amankrofo bebre ena na akosisa wenum nyina aba ne triple and double effects in the aka effects nyina no eno ne de ye hunu se ada na isi no akasem na afedie besi sa bredie wasesa ne sade a ye declare wie e constituency level no afe ono sa be ye recoalition asai e declare bi e ho na ye yi kakrama entiase no e hyeda anya adwuma menim bibikitua bi abeka fa ho kakra bi ne ho ama
grazie no ko wo ni se data commission for no so bi omo mboa ye emi bi ho no mo a asese omo ti asese bi o omo ni Ghana for omoye nyasa po so na kasa nti se wa kan bibi na se ene sasa wo kan ye kai wa onko pe bi fufuro enfan justify dia wo kan ti se na wo kan cheti ma de na ba yo no bra NDC for no dia petition no eko edom eye electoral commission for almost say once say you declare sa particular seat no whether it was even under the threat of gun or whatever it is, or declare unity, they have nothing to do about it. Will be on person who can F1. They should go to court. That was what they told them. A ban is saying this same electoral commission for the more catcher NDC for the say. You won't say you set aside the declaration because that declaration was done under duress. What can we say here? You naturally make people angry. Now, when will be anya, they will say, oh, what it could be, I hope you understand me. Now, what is annoying about what they are doing? I'm sorry, I'm getting a great voice now. What is annoying about what they are doing? They say, you have got the whole thing wrong. Instead, to say, maybe I am coming here. Not one day, they see in 2004, near Farijan, a year, and they justify their own year. Meanwhile, CI CI 48, which CI gives him that mandate to do so. Under CI, I would operate to say CI 127. You don't have that right. So why are you picking and choosing? Who's a mistake? Who compare in the past to justify what we are doing today? It doesn't wash. That is why I have a problem. I can tell you, saying that many years Ghana 4 years more, and I say the victory of Mahamano Akoye so wider. So you don't mean anything funny about it. Otherwise, the way this electoral commission is behaving, it could have been something else. It is a electoral commission for Ghana 4. They should not act funny. If they want to do it, make sure say they have the law on their side and that they are also maintaining consistency. The Omoka and Rano, Omuni and Noechi, and Yafe. Say the Omoka and Rano, say Remuno, Mania correct. That's what they say, no person will correct one. Omoka is a Nayan, say, and he can't say this, but the change will say it is wrong. But the correct law will be made.
Okay.
Because they are even talking about deputy returning officer. There is no position as deputy returning officer in the CI. We have only a returning officer. So why are they now saying they ask a deputy returning officer to make the declaration? When you have said, they say a certain returning officer and any mandate into Nutamadiano, you are setting it aside just because a different person, not from the constituency, came to another result. So why are you now asking somebody a so-called deputy returning officer? Because there is no deputy returning officer. We have only the election officer. Then we have the returning officer, and then the various officers are one here. There's nothing like a deputy returning officer. Now say another one which is also collation officer. That is the name. That's the nomenclature. There's no deputy returning officer. It's just Electoral Commission for no. Yo,
that's a pa, and you may want my young dear, the school pa. Yeah, that's in Comobia Bunny and Yancho, my ever fry and watch so. Medase was your father and a cassa a lawyer near Rabbi or Miramu Pass at the watchers and Yemem at the Ache and a lawyer Paul Kumi Nene and Nazi and a young cow sent something in a wood free angel 102.9 FM your angel TV so yeah we'll show you live Reverend of Upper Christine show you live Elha and Norton well Elha one also Abba I frequent Robert and so baby Kojo and Medome and so any woman aka na woman so kika se ne pa adwenche no ba na ba na se hashtag na koye se wa akoto woman ya bere wo honya asem ketua na ye bekọ na afia kenka asem ne bi batem Supreme Court so the judgment ne ba no o ka asem bi sanse na enipa bi kire se sabe NDC amanyoko no kura na eka se ne na High Court a wodi kan di asem no ebeka se abacho bedwa Electoral Commission mra na odi ye adwuma no de wo ye no no wo say bias no Supreme Court kasafa ho yentie ho nso
parties having regard to the circumstance of time constraint on the national electoral calendar, we hereby abridge the time for a hearing of the mandamus applications in the High Court and direct the High Court to hear the applications for mandamus on Tuesday, 31st December 2024. I hope Tuesday is 31st. On the issue of bias, we are not satisfied that sufficient evidence has been provided to us by the applicants. Nevertheless, in order to maintain the integrity of the adjudicatory process and in line with the practice of this court in cases such as Republic versus High Court ex parte Agua Company Limited, Auditor General Interested Party, 2019-2020 Supreme Court Law Report of Ghana, Adare, we hereby direct that the applications for mandamus that are extant shall be placed before a different High Court judge for hearing and determination. To conclude, by the conclusions reached in this decision, release A1, A2, A4, and A5 endorsed on the applicant's motion paper are hereby granted, while release A3 and A6 are refused. Release B and C are hereby dismissed. Ordered accordingly.
My lords, we are extremely grateful. We are grateful to the court. I wish you are grateful.
Supreme Court Ghana mremro ti se onyankopon ne ba Yesu Kristo wo twi wani ma wo ka odon se gu achi no aka We are extremely grateful, my Lord. We are grateful. You want to Bibiano? Hey, Musuamon, Quachacha, some your way and Jasm. And see a true man, almost we are extremely grateful. That's a password in him. And the Electoral Commission and send some now Boba Supreme Court. So, the judgments and then some more dear to Jano. A B and now OTB and na. Oko Facebook page. What's a Sama almost say any pebi a day as somebody a court to say about your Electoral Commission recoalition a warrior. No, just so warrior redeclaration. Emma de course or constituencies a hood one was say and Tawantawa see Yentini pebi anti woman who was here no or no as Sanya quality beam. Then watching what Niabobo na a nipa within Kunim. Our Batsuano, Wahuno. And what they want to say so Bonteno. And nipa be a woman to one say at the Bira Samno at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court at the whole Atemwa Babontene. As some Supreme Court can you say constituencies are who do Makumako and Chrono, yeah, Hoba Samono. As I say, Electoral Commission, Abubomu and so, Ama and Suning na Aquakodi MPP Aman Yukona Fasa Wamo, and woman named Sifua, a corporate as a parliamentary candidate, woman Edikano. A Supreme Court was sat down or said, and Yano Cre, one more Abua, some of the many pair, dear Samno, a court to Honomona. As some of catcher say, and your baby are unnecessary. Constituencies are who draw ya Wamaka was some A9. Okay, Central constituency, Ablekuma North Kaho, Tama Central, and not Techima South. And one more now, one say, Electoral Commission, so I recoalition, now why declaration Abubono, the other boy and Yanwa and Yellow Crowma Twagu, and to one of the assembly courts in Kunim. Now one more Chemo, Sansamoa, a see ya, our Batswana Chibra, one more constituencies are, a war coalition centers, a war constituencies, a final coalition, and one Bob Bunny Yeno. Do one the Kodi NDC among your corner afa. Now so now summit me was here would be see ye. I want to Electoral Commission ye say. One more budget now working kind. The other can grandson now war basis edge na yeno. One would declare the assembly and answer coalition no echo a miamia who do be ye one tentam. So what's a woman a cananka be at the once yeno. And tentam the Akosia ye cry a test on the police station no call. One more yeah. A body and one and king. And now was Electoral Commission so was sha not what me a bum. Now was this our sha as some will be a pay. Dr. Very Giant Pencil and a BC year was in 1988 a BC year 2004 a BC year. Emma Wamako yeah as I can be him. I'm a year and you who deal with Dinkunim. And since a Kobani sa Wamako now was shed ye see no a year been here be and about to be the Electoral Commission a year about BC dear SCM. Now any party drone was to say Wamatia and ye Sansa baby Electoral Commission dear some no Wamusha and your ho and a num into almost so a dear chilla or dear some no Akodia Supreme Court to see Supreme Court to just see a Wamusi yano dear Wamo Kanyana and a Sam and Penny Fon Sama Wamaka and the Electoral Commission I know Wakaya dear now so and someone Wama dear some number 2 woman in Aka dear Wama Chiro and it's Shemuka Wamuswa ye and Zambisa Wama Bisa and it's one to Ghana Mrai for about to hono and in the Bobra and see and ya dear one better Siama Sanche na Koso ama womo Ajia Tumu and to almost same electoral irregularities just say kitty element me want say challenges kakra si akra eba ye eba about to no mono Emma Mra was here this one and Shaya was here the Juma na se bebre na no ya mfa anya Juma and someone who do a course Supreme Court to Ekasa ebra and penifo etina se Emma womo eka ho asam no yenkotie ebra na rule neighbor and in some pie ye and the Supreme Court epono so baye
by the proceedings in the mandamus application, and the least he could have done was to grant them a hearing on the facts and the law upon which the application was brought. Our courts and all courts, especially in the common law tradition, have held this right to a hearing so sacrosanct that under the circumstances of this case, the applicant ought to have been given a hearing, notwithstanding or irrespective of the provisions of Order 4, Rule 5 of CI 47 on joinder generally and Order 55 on judicial review. In the case of Awini versus West Africa Exams Council 2003-2004, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, the Supreme Court quashed a decision of an administrative body, that is the West African Examination Council, for failure to accord persons a right to a hearing. The statute under which the West African Examination Council functions did not expressly confer a right to a hearing, but the Supreme Court held that the West African Examination Council ought to have accorded those affected a right, since the right to a hearing had been elevated to a constitutional right in Article 23. If that had been held to bind administrative bodies, how much more a court of law? In the case of ex-parte Hawa Yakubu, the High Court in Bolgatanga made orders in an election matter which affected Hawa Yakubu, a candidate at the election. And though she was a non-party, the Supreme Court held that on the facts in the case, the High Court violated her right to be heard and quashed the orders of the High Court. The interested parties say that because Mr. Godwin Elbridge Temeklo was allowed by the trial judge to speak, he was accorded a hearing. But they must realize that he was allowed to speak as a friend of the court, as recorded by the judge himself, and not as counsel for the applicants. This is an unfortunate misunderstanding of what amounts to a hearing in the mandamus application of this nature. Hearing plainly required the applicants to have filed an affidavit in the matter and to have made legal submissions. In this case, none of that happened, so the trial judge violated the right to a hearing of the applicants. Now to our orders. We have taken note of the fact that the applicants did not contend that there had been earlier completed collations in respect of the Sawam Adwajiri and Ahafwano North constituencies per paragraph 8 of the affidavit sworn to by Fibi Fiabikwete dated 16 December in support of the motion for judicial review filed by the applicants on 16 December 2024. Since the orders which have been brought to be quashed are separate and distinct, we have decided to exercise our discretionary power to quash by certiorari, having regard to the peculiar circumstances of each ruling. Consequently, we hereby quash the orders of mandamus.
Yes, where Supreme Court quash abem ne die enye discharge asem quash abem ne die enye ayi asem where quash ya chichi papers ya tuagu baby ya ano dine chair discharge ensin samwa Supreme Court di tu dwano no na de nyina ye nka ne ehunu ne se baby a wo ma quash de isi every election no anasa recollation achi results no mo de ba ye ene declaration no wo ma quash abo atuagu no eye constituencies nine Okai Kwe Central, Ablekuma North, Tema Central, and Atachima South. And what you know, I must say, and so I'm not doing dear coalition, ye, one of the results in the buy, the win it. I have for no east, and also Sada, win it. Eti I want some guso ya elbow bobana said ye Ghana yatia no interesting times ahead ye nim say ya to aba wie say ye no a aya na ye test mra ne pa Supreme Court an obi akro eti say yes police station wo ene constituency wo so wani nkunuma wa jejeje nya fe na akogira ba bia ka he eti no wasam ne ho nkomo ene ye koso no nti mra ne ma ho kwan say BBC na wonti ase na ompene so a enkokonto kwankobomma enkotwe kontima ne se kan brantan nim court na be chirechirem enti say no de achia pa ne say high court odi ka tena asam no so kan ye wie ye e kan say ane wo mo de asam ne ba court no watete wo nkrata ma togu wo de asam no wa ji asam na togu ama mo difo no say Supreme Court nchire mu ye ode abai a kire say constituencies ni bi ho no mu a high court no ama emra no anya adwuma na wo mo ka kire ma kire say wo kura na edu ba bi a ensam na wo sanka afre na nipa ya bo no ko adu nipa wo asam kan wo ba be kan asem nanso so we na say ya ma wo mo kwan ama wo ma me ka wo ma asem nti ama ho nsam na aye ne aye bebre enti ya be kwa wo no so na ye di nkomo na afa ya hye bisa ho nsam kakra awe say die na empanifo eka na ho asem ene say yanko amaso na ne deputy general secretary ama MPP amanyoko na Haruna Mohammed eni nkomo ne emisa ne say de Supreme Court akasa no say na amanyoko no so mu Haruna salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yade
ya fe ala
yo yamani si hwa na me de ne esie minim say Supreme Court ruling na omo dia ba concerning 4 constituencies Okaikwe Central, Ablekuma North, Tama Central and Techima South no what's it be minim say dia manyoko no so mfa
yo matibi yaji kan mebe chia obi biara oti Angel TV and then Supreme Court ACIA and your lawyers and the EC lawyers and the NDC lawyers in Asia and Supreme Court. Now, case Asia no a NDC application for a review. And I said, Omo apply Emma Supreme Court say Omo beti Omo say Omo the case of natural justice say Omo Tio the Mandambus application. The Supreme Court actually said 2 of the constituencies are Edaho, any Sawam, Adjari, any Ahafo North. And the declarations are it was done within the remits of the law. And the Oman Kaki Alpaso. Almost 4 coalition centers, and I said 4 constituencies are the NDC are more joining as a party, and there was no natural justice. Now, Omutimi argue Omu case, and the Supreme Court so almost kwashi sa particular 4 coalitions. Now, Omo appoint and as Omo say Omo appoint new judge say so now by 31st of December na case no be and the MPP as a party party rule of law and we are not questioning the decision of the Supreme Court. But young and if is not
Mr. Afache me onkomo no ba bia wadru na ho hia ya pa enso so ho ma no atwitwi ne mu kakra so obetimi agina ba bi ya ma yen na yetie o
I'll take it now my catcher say me free no
onam kwa so yo afedi eye kra
and the as a party we are not against the Supreme Court. We will appear before the court. Hearing will be given the NDC, and we believe that the rules of natural justice will be adhered to. But we will still make our case to ensure that the spirit of CI 127, Regulation 43, the processes procedure, the Nina, Omuba say, EBTI, Afaso, Nanina, and Kosumaya.
But Mobiba Bisa say a young one say Supreme Court question the whole process no ne recollation no ne results na batch no one kakra.
We know that
ahoma no o se wo nam kwan so a wo kɔ baabi nti asa ahoma no twetwe ne mu kakra ahoma no twetwe ne mu enimu ayen enti ye behwe se ye besa puso eru na ahoma no biem na ya hwe se ye betimi anya no a na wato aso ye ne kasa no o kase wonam kwan so a wo kɔ assignment bi nti unse kwan so na nte de network no Ghana unam kwan so baabi kɔ baabi a na network no nheda enimu ayen enti utie na unse wo kasem batem network no mo ayen enti ye pese ye ne ye tiefo ne ahefo hunu na afa ye te de wo kan mu yie no ye be se ye be so apusu ahoma no ye nya no na mu da ho a ye ne no bedi nkomo ebusanfo de ne kasa ye NPP General Secretary abedi akire Deputy Haruna Muhammad on ne kasa ye ne be hese ye nya ne biema ne no ebeto aso enkomo we nti ye be sa akọ National Democratic Congress NDC amanyoko ni so abobo ano na ya hwese ye benya Dr. Rashid Tanko computer wono aye Deputy Director Elections and IT ene na di nkomo na ya hwe ye be ka ya ye ne no kasa ye na wotwe ye mu efa de High Court so e de beto udwa High Court is resource na ruling na High Court de ba ye no ye ne kasa ye e wo ho ma o kasa NDC ntiase na ntiase china ene ne Supreme Court de nso ababeto so nti yenko amaso na ye ne nkasa doc ye da sepa no bre ye madwo so ba angel kase so
mi he dire
nyame adom abofo no onse angel so de wo mo ye adwuma enti wo mo da so aboye ho ba ye ho ye pa ye nim sam so ho ye
ha dia boko send India democracy na eda edinkuni
eye pa obani ye no kasa na wotwi mu efa High Court na ruling no de ba ye ono so yes application a mo de ba ye no wabatu agu a che se Electoral Commission adwuma wo ye no ensande enyina ho ma wo kai se NDC mo ntra ho nye di mo be obetu na mo nti de besi bia no mo dru bridge no so a mo be hu ba bia mo de befa enne Supreme Court atena se ama constituencies 4 and 9 isi ye recollection edi new results aba declare NPP amanyoko no PC say gina mu de ma wo mo no se omumom ene di nkunim no ese wo se wakwahye wa ye firi ho wato atwene se enyina emra no kirekire mu no enyina sen na mo som wo ha
minia se me kan cho dada say ye reach bridge na ye be cross enye sa
okay
nze hu say Supreme Court no omo kwashi decision ne no mo koye High Court no se me kan cho say ade no mo koye ne nye kwa a travesty of justice. Because I didn't have judge no rule on that day, on the 20th, and then it was a wrong ruling, complete wrong ruling. Then because who can hear ruling, was affecting Nipa. Then Nipa the country said, Mami, listen to me, hear me, because the decision you are going to make, no, it will affect me. Now it's one panic. So it was like collision. Omuko ye adenu quick Saturday no muko ye kokofu or no muko ye burunya party. And declared themselves winners. Nano muko ye no. Supreme Court passion in na yes because started to flow. Because I didn't know mo monja to mo say nye almost be. So we are going back to court on the 31st. Almost said new judge crown on the bar. Supreme Court said judge no want na case na bio. Mo uniform. Because juma no ye no nye onye the ye. So mo uniform ho. No mo sa fa judge fufu ba. On tena case no na nhwe so se se na e ka no case adwuma no nyina no mo ye reach office Electoral Commission on regional office ni nyina Supreme Court kwahye ni nyina eye adwuma
ye misasa o tie o mu ruling na was ruling no affecting sa wo ma do agiri any ahafo no is enkano ntina che se processes na isi course so ye recollection ye declaration no ho de wo ma anko ho ho so kakra na mu ye okay
say no dey very for process bi aba because yen je to ho no mo koye no because that one there you see our case no na recollection asem na e kasa what you see. But as someone do agire any ahafano southwest any ahafano north 3 constituencies no more we mu collation what you say omo we mu collation so your case no and affect you but we have case with it. It's a separate case we are filing against those 3 guys but with there 6 constituencies winning now enu na omo declare my say 5 no eni nyina no mo ye no mo nye no yi omo kwahye no nyina
eti da ben na mo satna se court da ben
31st
okay 31st na ye kwaya all night no mo court
ye court na se me kan cho say ye reach bridge na ye cross
okumi eni nkomo na yenhwe saa ruling na subokumi eni nkomo na yenhwe saa ruling na Supreme Court edi aba no won to kanea nto so yie mfa nkire ye na fe yente ase ewo mu no enkom yie na yehunu de asie no sese ya sese Ghana kakra ye te kabi mami kabi abato ne mra ye wo ho no sese kikiri no etwam eti next 4 years elections yesremo yempe ye ne kwa bia biem do lawyer atmenka enjo kase esu ni madwe lawyer ba atmenka
abeto nka
mo medasipa official paso
awuda tene nyina tinko
amen Supreme Court on some ya won de abetu dwai efisi eto aba wie ye won sam aba ye nwie ye de adwuma ye nti ye nwie ye da so de akira ABN election I see de akira ne sansa to ntwae na sese de abebon foforo ye Supreme Court ruling na won de aba abonte akwahye for constituencies electoral commission ye re-election you can say re-coalition every year the results foforo ba ye declare pieces binuma previously no na wo to aba ne wie na enye wo mo na ebeto dwa se wo mo na edi enkunim edi ba beto dwa ama sese wakwahye menim ni nyina nkamfu ano how do you who processes ni nyina ayekoso ne sayansa na ye wura nkomu ni mu ankasa ahoma no ate obi anto yeduro anomano ano atie enti ye behani asep su bie ma hwe se ye nsa beka lawyer kumi Paul kumi na ye na ato ankomodie no so because say ase eno ana e wose ye di ho nkomo na no so ho nkomo abeto dwa pa sanse ebra ye to aba ne wie ye nchi no ahye ba kire no na edoso nipa dodo no a na wo mo hwe ni mu se ye benya se nipa smesi ana benten na ye constituency won na ye bedwani a wokọ akogina ya nemo again ye ni musa na electoral ye can say parliament at the online portal send won ma di nkunim anase parliamentary candidates na won nim se won na edi nkunim elections ni mu no se emahye bedwafo at the ma won se ase na won nye online registration ya ekoso yi ene se registration in person ekoso yi se wo behwe yes wo na wa win afechi obere yes asase no nyewa where are we going e de na ekoso de na ye eno wonsam no yegusu a ye rese ebetimi anya nkyeremu pa sanse ene electoral commission beka se we na we ne wo china yes da bi nyewa ene yes we ensem no aye bebre yankwai na yenhwese besi enya ne biemu a na ye ne enini ni nkomo onyama ahoma ne so nti yenyan ma ne beto ankomo ne so ye to aso ne yo yenkwa ahoma ne so oh
hello
la yotimenka maju biem
so
yo medase facha ya homa no atwi ni mukakra sele na mi bisa no processes no ne de akoso ni nyina de di kai high court de a wo mo de ba ruling wo mo de ba ne ne de Supreme Court so de abai cheche ye mukakra de na ekoso yi
okay but show de ba ne say na ye won 9 constituencies na problem kakra e wo ho talenti area no MP before no the sa 9 constituencies no sem the Kodani the High Court Accra High Court no emma order say yenko ye regulation in respect of 7 of the various constituencies no. There were other ones and any another constituency and any someone into they had not at the time fully completed almost coalition no supposedly it did the others now no na a year in respect of 7 constituencies are a friend saying coalition no a cover so our it you know the NDC for a file petition and now some of our sexual right our Supreme Court was Okwaya High Court no fast so a share say yenkoye sa recollation and I say yenko declare results of from omo nya di isane say ya momo kwan amomo so omo ntimi ameka asembia in fact they na High Court no aka say yenkoye no isane say the High Court no e kan no eno asusu so no etia eye NDC for omo paramedical candidates no na eno na ne ego kan ho asem e Supreme Court for the Supreme Court no nyanse mu no omo kire say 4 of the constituencies no a judge no e kan say enko ye recollation no eno de omo nyintu nti yen pass asem no dia the commission for kwaya obia no enya de omo de be adwuma na mom and someone they are omo ye any afa no de no ye eno de omo jitu say mbra anase oshia judge no e man say ho omo results no yenkoye na indicate winner no and they no kwanso elo no but there is a small problem bi e wo hanoma elo no ibi nya say NDC paying for no obecheche mukakra it's an say the woman say NDC for no na omo ka say nipa and so ibi wasam eni enka azusu nipa na omodo mu nsam so economy nipa besia Obuasi East case no so na eka nia judge no ema order say yenkoye sari collection na indi it you know ye ka say orders na ye mai na Obuasi East enka ho ntubeka ebra judge no or can you say ye no or say for the avoidance of doubt or more regulation or more AC chain or a Ablikuma North or Tema or Techima and or Kankui as so one fat a friend saying to was Eastern County. See, an area as I say, NDC for no share. Na anyway ya no omutubi cost Supreme Court could be na omoka kwasa otherwise the commission for be can say it's only say yan kan hwe nti omo fa na say Obuasi is the end there
asembia ni ho
aha nti be ya NDC for no mo pay no o kan na o kan say almost na kan assembly enu but order na no order no in respect of seats and 9 and yet 60 alone it's an Obuasi East no there no encounter o share omo man so mo the Supreme Court no e can I say Obuasi East there so and so answer that could people papa e wo hono but acha emu ye ombetumi akọ it's an say uti judgment no ye no omo say judgment no orders no in respect of the specific constituencies just say constituency be an assembly each that and one so into na come the na go mu akebe
because like I always say dom kwabenya any Ablekuma North and per 9 constituencies na electoral commission recollation no wo ma wiemu 7 na 2 ne de wo nya nwie ba wo judgment ruling ya Ablekuma North ewom bi but dom kwabenya enka ho doesn't mean say omunwie ho de na so ho results bi bia ombeye ho bia no Supreme Court so egitum say ho de o mbetimi aye na say no so how bia ni ho say Supreme Court beye
say they will say o court no was some other court na ni no I don't know the pressure so I can't pass some the amount until we share a NDC for omo we don dey kwai no almost the 6 constituencies in some and the coye and yeji imu and 9 ato say the air or and see the name Indian entry sign. Miruna Canada court no enyansemuno the air no and no anti yen twaso. It is a young crow that's NDC for no years and would the insian the call ya. Say no the call Supreme Court no and that Supreme Court for the bidding with my dear mom.
But say no you sure you NDC election and IT director deputy edin komo se siama wa chema che say the akani nyina wo mo san kwahye wo mo ho na o ma san ba yenhwe se de ene Parliament yenim say efri sa breko 7 January ebre nim bia bebre bia sa enti ya dada no ena obeti ya se una wa wini ade chese da binya wa ya sa ya coalition foforo ya se we na wini en ya mra ne mu ne ya nhihye ye ne mu no de etise ye no mi hu se bi atasi se de ye hu no enei ebi asi de ba na de ya esi na se edo sododo ya test of the mra no en ya ti ase enti se yedi ani akoho pa ye ne sa no ana se politics na se yente ye ho ase ankoye nya fa de a eko obi afa enye no kre ene ye ne sesei
the order say na Ghana for MP no the before ba na ye won bebre na mo sa de fufo na ba no na ene so ebie ni amaya temrase amaya TV ase amaya TV ase the one say e bi mrebia e kase on the 7th of January no as I say yes so 276 members of parliament
omunyina
the e bi mrebia e kasa because e ba say e bi ra be to aba no ana e bi a omo ra be to so aba no e bi oba ko fo bi ewuye ewomu a yen ka se ni ba ko no ewu ti bi en to aba no to so there be the other party with the opportunity say almost fa enipa fufu enye den emra just say the ba ko no independent candidate and the owu and no manamum so oye a candidate on the ticket of a party say the ba ko no ewu ebi about say there 2 or 3 days to the time no
the best swear parliament in na
parliament the no the party no kwan say omo enye hihye na mo fo bi fofo ebra
na se ho ne ho nkohia se be by election biem
ho no omo don be enye se be by election na mo be twen omo elections no so I confirm say sa party no mo ni pa omo candidate no aka be bi no omo de ono be de ebeba na ye hihye fofo na ya to aba no ewo sa constituency ho no that arrangement no the likelihood me say baso sa how to be member of parliament to be no Emma parliament on the 7th of January no it will yenti and once say you ra a catcher kitiki say on the 7th of January no it's a see just 276 members of parliament being na asana nema akosi no member omo electoral commission for edo wonsa ahye omudi ase na we ni efro say ya gazette omodi akọ publishing ya jatu no say we ni wo mo a ye hira so say omodi nkunu na electoral commission for edis are listing the akakoma the clerk of parliament omo any be so mu in at the 7th of January no itini ya ekosi na no ye can say bia o ye mo very short time by Tuesday they should go there and a whole lot of them almost Tuesday no na say there are some other legal processes here a bit na impossible say there is management on that day and I remember really on that day it remember you na enya be say the ye we e be ya you need to PT 7 January deadline it me ya okay yeah of course we have to take note of that. The other aspect is also any near and is a former deputy IT papa no ekan no ewu say Supreme Court no aka say someone any another area be no results now ya declared by the EC no correct nti yenyin tum NDC for no our right under Article 99 for them to proceed via an election petition at the High Court. And to remember to me, I continue. We decided another umbrella. And yes, I said, now you said no one in the song because Supreme Court I can say no. Supreme Court no I can only in respect of the Electoral Commission for no a year. It's in the performer or no a year NDC for contestants or no. Or no, they all map back to the Supreme Court review, but he can go to the High Court to say, acquire Electoral Commission for FR and now never be a CC and suddenly has our results, and pay into area. Then declare as the winner, and I say their course and go into YouTube, nay, uniform for. Those ones also, you say, I don't know, and Papa, you say you need a computer.
I can't go computer, doctor or a doctor.
And I know that the computer so if you buy no, and say that is also appropriate. They can still challenge that particular one.
And yeah, interesting times power anima. Yeah, this year, dear. Yeah, this year, yes, no. Because say be no NC, it's yes, yeah, Fahuna, yes, dear. At this point, you know, ya to aba, Mekaisa, Memsa 2012, for President, now, His Excellency, as Abrano, candidates, Emma NPP, Nanado Danko Akufo-Addo, Echo Supreme Court, after election, no declaration, say NDC and a winning, yeah, Emma, His Excellency JDM, it's now so. It's now Supreme Court for almost 9 months. Na Yehusa Jenny no Yefem 2016 and so 2020 and also so NDC Echo Supreme Court to Sebi and also Yefem and a Nedia Yefemuni and Anami Bisa se Afegana yeti emrana se yeti anamustuana se ana tintin to see a party na entini ye.
Oh, the BMG said near Echo no near NDC for a year, near NPP for a year. A year by and a homo a campasam. If you want some work on back or 2 a year, I judge you for you. Tina, I judge you for the background. I don't see then so.
Okay.
Your main person you said, they didn't talk at the demo. Yeah, they be to a for a program for the Kakaho. I don't know, we live from electoral and answer election violence. And only in your part of the elections, you know. Now we are to have benevi. Then you're happy with quite be a fast so and they determine the winner. No, if you know, you wonder, I actually say, near ya, no, I idea will be engine one. Or one we say there's a fast so. Now, what if you say? Now we see young farmer passo and find you know. Yasa one so. That's why some is one. You can be any amount. Last time, young Papa Akufo-Addo winning elections, no. UBT, you were Mahama by close to 1 million votes. That is 925,000. Now Ghana for you say BAC that. Here they can say never in the history of Ghana and yet BT an incumbent a friends a party by close to 1 million votes. And then they see NDC follow at BT NPP follow in excess of 1.6 million. That's almost 700,000 votes more than the Nanado ADBT Mahama. Me are interested in this. They say Mahama he beating by 975,000 votes, you know. And now they beating it, you know, by more than 1.6 million votes. New things are coming, and we should all be ready. Now, when you need you know, you to me who say you share it before I send a walk on. Now, humility. Not you share it before. As for politicians, there, I can assure you, say, Nyauba Yamano, no no be nya tumi na wato aso edi ni tumi no obe say ye bonu say ye papa wo so long as say dia wo ye no ebe ensure to ono be tra power no obe ye ana say nia wo ye ma no ebe mo nya power no obe but ma me ka je kana to mutie be okoye ho kwasia na odo ko biara to pe ibi twa wachi e da kira wo ye bia enfa bra kwanso na bra no so mu a ko ba ko de fiase iga no bi no mu de kira and say ya bo mu chu ko mo it is a election some party win you some party lose you omo se do nti yenya nyansa ni o se Ghana for ye kire ya adwen say ye pesa aban wi and I pesa party wi ye mo pa say nyame ebe ma sa party for no omso be nya bada ye dia mayen na mo de no kure ni nya bi suru ani o pepa e be die man asabi you omo si pini no so atikakra dia
atikakra lawyer ye jawa mo ko ba ko bia akoye enkomo asese yedie electoral commission position now yenim sa 2020 elections mo Techuma South and SMBCC wo ho ema electoral commission ema yete ase se electoral commission penia ono na returning officer e constituency coalition center ho declare PCB se ono ane ye kan aba nyina wieye no wadi nkunimu a enya afei ene obia esa isi ni hweye biem na emom de onti ase no court no obekọ amankrofo bebre eno na akosisa wenum nyina aba ne triple and double effects in the aka effects nyina no eno ne de ye hunu se ada na isi no akasem na afedie besi sa bredie wasesa ne sa de aye declare wie our constituency level no afe ono sa be ye recoalition asai e declare bi ho na aye yi kakrama entiase no enhyeda enya adwuma minim bibikitu bi abeka fa ho kakra bi ne ho ama
grazie no ko wo ni se data commission for no to bi omo mboa ye ebi bi ho no mo a asese omo ti asese bi o omo ni Ghana for omo ye yansa for so na e kasa nti se wa ka bibi na se ene sasa wo kan ye kai wa onko pe bi fufuro enfan justify dia wo kan se se na wo kan chedi ma de na e ba yo no bra NDC for no dia mo petition no eko edom eye electoral commission for almost say once say I declare sa particular seat you know whether it was even under the threat of gun or whatever it is but declare unity they have nothing to do about it will be on person one they should go to court. That was what they told them. A ban is saying this same electoral commission for the more catcher NDC for the say say you set aside the declaration because that declaration was done under duress. What can we say here? You naturally will make people angry. Now when will be angry, they will say, oh boy, it could be I hope you understand me. Now, what is annoying about what they are doing? I'm sorry, I'm getting a great voice now. What is annoying about what they are doing? They say, you have got the whole thing wrong. Instead, to say, maybe I can ye. Not one day, they see here in 2004, near Farijan, a year, and they justify their own year. Meanwhile, CI Farijan, a year, Juman, a CI 48. Which CI gives him that mandate to do so? Under CI, I would operate to say, CI 127. You don't have that right. So why are you picking and choosing? Who's a mistake? Who compare the in the past to justify what we are doing today? It doesn't wash. And that is why I have a problem. I can tell you, saying that many years Ghana 4 years more, and I can say. The victory of Mahamano Akoye so wider. So you don't mean anything funny about it. Otherwise, the way this electoral commission is behaving, it could have been something else. It is a electoral commission for Ghana for they should not act funny. If they want to do it, or make sure say they have the law on their side. And that they are also maintaining consistency. The Omuka and Rano, Omuni and Noechi, na Enyefe. Say the Omuka and Rano, say Mremuno, Nanya correct. That's what they say, no person will collect one. Omuka is a Nayan, say, and he can't say this, but the change will say it is wrong. But the correct law will be me. Okay. Because they are even talking about deputy returning officer. There is no position as deputy returning officer in the CI. We have only a returning officer. So why are they now saying they ask a deputy returning officer to make the declaration? What you have said is a certain returning officer and then a mandate you are setting it aside just because a different person not from the constituency came to another result. So why are you now asking somebody a so-called deputy returning officer? Because there is no deputy returning officer. We have only the election officer. Then we have the returning officer, and then the various officers are 1 year. There's nothing like a deputy returning officer. Now say another one which you also collation officer. That is the name. That's the nomenclature. There's no deputy returning officer. It's a Electoral Commission for no. Yo,
that's a pa, and you may want my young dear, or the Echo Scoop. Yeah, that's in Comobia Bunny and Yanchich, my bed fry and watch yes. So, Medas, I was your father and a cassa, lawyer near Rabbe or Miramu Passa, the watchers and Yemem, and the Ache and a lawyer, Paul Kumi, Nene, and Nazi, and a young cow was sending in a wood free angel 102.9 FM, your angel TV, so yeah, we'll show you live. Reverend of Upper Christine, show you live, Elha, and Norton Well, Elha, one also Abba, I feel Robert and so baby, Kojo, and Medome, and so any woman aka na woman so kika se ne pa adwenche no ba na ba na se hashtag na koye se wa akoto woman ni abre wo ho nya asem ketua na ye bekọ na afia kenkan asem ne bi batem Supreme Court so edi judgment ne ba no o kan asem bi sanse na enipa bi kire se be NDC amanyoko no kura na eka se ne na High Court a wodi kan di asem no ebe kan se abato bedwa Electoral Commission mra na odi ye adwuma no de woye no no wom se ye bias no Supreme Court kasafa ho yentie won so
parties having regard to the circumstance of time constraint on the national electoral calendar, we hereby abridge the time for a hearing of the Mandamus applications in the High Court and direct the High Court to hear the applications for Mandamus on Tuesday, 31st December 2024. I hope Tuesday is 31st. On the issue of bias, we are not satisfied that sufficient evidence has been provided to us by the applicants. Nevertheless, in order to maintain the integrity of the adjudicatory process and in line with the practice of this court in cases such as Republic versus High Court ex parte Agua Company Limited, Auditor General Interested Party, 2019-2020 Supreme Court Law Report of Ghana, Adare, we hereby direct that the applications for mandamus that are extant shall be placed before a different High Court judge for hearing and determination. To conclude, by the conclusions reached in this decision, reliefs A1, A2, A4, and A5 endorsed on the applicant's motion paper are hereby granted, while reliefs A3 and A6 are refused. Reliefs B and C are hereby dismissed. Ordered accordingly.
My lords, we are extremely grateful. Extremely grateful. We are grateful to the court. I was your gift.
Supreme Court of Ghana mremro so nyankopon ne ba Yesu Kristo wo twi wani ma wo ka odon sagu achi no aka we are extremely grateful my lord we are grateful me hona akoyi bibia no hey musuo mon he kwa church se me wo ye njiazem enti atwi o mani mawie wo mo say we are extremely grateful ya da se pass wo twi anim enti electoral commission and sensem na abobo ba Supreme Court na judgment